Today, we're diving deep into the shocking revelations from the Jeffrey Epstein Files. The source material we're looking at paints an incredibly grim picture. A world that implicates some of the planet's most powerful people. A world where, it seems, law, shame, and humanity just went out the window.
You know, our source material doesn't pull any punches. It calls this whole scandal a gutter for the world's elite. The argument is that when these files were finally unsealed, they ripped the lid off a reality that many people wished had stayed hidden forever.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get a handle on the files themselves. Then, we'll dig into the specific allegations against some of the key figures. After that, we'll try to uncover how this whole network actually operated. And finally, we'll face that really tough question. What about justice? So let's start at the beginning. Our journey kicks off on a date the source highlights as a major turning point, January 30, 2026. This was the day a massive collection of documents was finally released to the public, setting the stage for everything that was about to come out.
And the scale here, it's just staggering. We're talking about 3.5 million pages of files, records, and photos. This wasn't just a peek behind the curtain. This was the whole curtain being torn down, exposing a deeply hidden world of power and allegedly exploitation.
All right, now let's get to the dossiers themselves. We're going to start with a couple of the most recognizable names from the worlds of technology and politics that are mentioned in the source material. For decades, we've known Bill Gates as this global humanitarian, a philanthropist. But the files, at least as the source interprets them, they raise some really serious questions and suggest a stark contrast between his public image and his private life.
So, the source points to Epstein's own email drafts, which lay out some pretty jaw-dropping allegations. It's claimed that Gates had relations with Russian girls, got an STD, and then secretly went to Epstein for help to hide it all from his wife. And of course, this put him in a perfect position to be blackmailed. Now, it is absolutely crucial to say that Gates' team has denied these claims, calling them completely false.
Then you have the case of Donald Trump, where the files present this massive contradiction. On one side, you've got his team's public statements, calling it all political propaganda. But on the other side, the source claims the files contain 14 of his private phone numbers, a whole bunch of flight records, and a really shocking allegation that he accepted a young girl as a gift.
And the network's reach, it didn't just stop at politics or tech, not by a long shot. The allegations also drag in names from the respected worlds of science and culture. Names that, frankly, most people never, ever expected to hear in this kind of context.
And maybe the most shocking name for a lot of people was the celebrated physicist Stephen Hawking. I mean, to see a man so revered for his incredible mind pop up in a scandal like this, it just left people stunned. So, according to the source, Hawking did visit Epstein's island. And this leaves us with a really difficult question, doesn't it? Was this brilliant mind just being used as a kind of respectable cover to make the island seem legitimate, or was he a willing participant? The scandal's tentacles even reached across the globe to India. The source highlights that the well-known filmmaker Meera Nair got pulled into this after photos showed her at a party at Ghislaine Maxwell's home, which, as you can imagine, sparked a huge firestorm online. Okay, now let's shift gears and look at two figures who, according to the source, weren't just casual visitors. They were supposedly deep inside Epstein's inner circle. 26. That's the number. 26 is how many times the source says former U.S. President Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet, the one infamously known as the Lolita Express. That sheer number of trips has understandably fueled all sorts of intense speculation about what their relationship was really about. And for Britain's royal family, the files paint an absolutely damning picture of Prince Andrew. The source alleges he was a regular guest at Epstein's properties, where girls were sent to him almost like they were gifts. I mean, it just completely shatters that whole image of royal decorum. So, the huge question hanging over all of this is, how? How could an operation this massive go on for so long, involving so many of the world's most powerful people? Well, the source material offers some pretty chilling clues about the mechanics of the whole thing. According to the source, the real key to the entire operation was Ghislaine Maxwell. As Epstein's partner, she allegedly used her high society status to lure vulnerable young women into their web, promising them money, help with their careers, all false promises. And this right here breaks down the alleged method to their madness. See, this wasn't just about pleasure. It was a systematic blackmail machine. Powerful people were lured in, secretly recorded with hidden cameras, and then those recordings were used as leverage, as control. And the pull of that island, it seems, even reached the top of the tech world. The source points to leaked emails where Elon Musk allegedly asked about when the wild parties were happening, saying he wanted to go. Now, it is really important to note that Musk has fiercely denied ever visiting the island. He said he was invited but turned it down.
So, with all of these horrific allegations out there for the world to see, the big question becomes, what now? What happens when the truth is out, but justice feels completely out of reach? The source material also weighs into the most extreme and frankly disturbing rumors. While it says there's no direct proof of things like cannibalism, it does highlight that the documents contain these chilling phrases like permission to murder. Now, whatever the context, that kind of language has fueled absolute public horror and speculation about just how deep the depravity went. And this chart brings us to a very stark reality. Despite millions of pages of documents and all these shocking details, there has been very, very little accountability for the powerful people involved. The number of people implicated is incredibly high, but as you can see, when it comes to actual criminal convictions, it's almost zero.
You know, at the end of the day, this is so much more than just a list of famous names in a scandal. The source argues that this represents a fundamental betrayal of the trust we put in our leaders, our scientists, our cultural icons. It's one of those moments where the very foundations of society feel shaken. And all of that leaves us with one final, critical question. In a world where it seems like immense wealth and power can buy silence and a get-out-of-jail-free card, can just knowing the truth, can unveiling it all, ever really be enough to bring about justice?